something happened last night that scared the crap out of me. You know, I do have like various forms of protection inside the trailer, but when somebody has a gun and they're all ready to go, then finding some interesting lava formations out here. I was just looking up here in these crevices, thinking about rattlesnakes and wondering if there's any snakes around here. And I take 5 steps over here and there's a snake skin. I was kind of thinking I was lost for a second, and then I just saw my bike. It's right there. The dogs and I are getting ready to leave camp. This is one of the days that's hard for me because I like this spot. I like this spot a lot. And if you saw in one of my recent videos, probably the last video, I went into a cave that's right here. So as I camp at this place, kind of more and more, I'm learning so much more about the area, and I really dig that. This spot right here in this little immediate area has always been good to me. It's not very popular. It's super desolate, and that makes sense. That's why I think it's not very popular. Every once in a while, like every few days, I might see someone drive through here and they'll kind of go up on the ridge here and then they're out of here. Only a few times has anybody ever camped out here nearby, so it's very quiet in that sense. Now, I will hear people shooting guns off in the distance, like really far away. It never bothers me. They're never close by. And you know, now that I have this orange hat, if I do come across someone who's out target shooting, you know, I feel a lot safer. But something happened last night that scared the crap out of me. I was sound asleep, so at least I was kind of in that sort of dreamy state where you're like, I don't know if this is really happening or not. The dogs were sound asleep. They didn't wake up. I mean, they didn't really move around that much. But you know how when dogs will dream and their legs will start kicking. Well, we were sound asleep and I'm dreaming and I start hearing this boom, boom, boom. And it's not like off in the distance. It's got that bassy, thuddy sound, that full sound to it. And so my first thought was, oh, Dodger's just dreaming and he's kicking the wall, and the wall in the trailer will kind of make a thuddy sound. And my brain is making me think it's gunshots because I'm in that weird dream state. Also, Echo will do the same thing, and he'll kick like tremendously. Boom, boom. So I wasn't sure if that's what it was, but I was like, no, it sounds like gunshots. Boom, boom, boom. And it was pitch black out. Well, it wasn't pitch black. It was in the middle of the night. I knew that. It was very dark out. There was a partial moon out, so if you looked out the window, you could see, the landscape a little bit. But I could feel the concussion, the boom, boom. It was so close to where I was sleeping. And so what do? I'm like, I have no idea what to do. But somebody's shooting too close to me, and they must not know that I'm here, because who would shoot that close? So I didn't know what to do. Actually, somebody put in the comments the other day, they said you need an air horn in case someone's shooting around you. And that would have come in kind of handy. Although I don't necessarily want to call attention to myself, but all I could think of to do was to turn the light on, the outside like porch light. And so that'll kind of light up the area. And as soon as I did that, the sound stopped. And so I thought, well, that must have definitely been gunshots. I was too scared to come outside because, I'm not really prepared. It was kind of like nerve-wracking because I really didn't know what to do. So I got kind of as prepared as I could, basically. And I was just hoping they would stop. And I didn't hear anything after that. So the next morning, this was 2 nights ago, I was trying to shoot this video when it wasn't so windy, just to make sure there'd be good noise. But it's windy today too, so I was really eager to get outside and see what was going on, see if I could find any evidence of what was going on. And actually I did. You can see where I'm camped right there. And then right up here on this little ledge. Well, one thing I found was some turds. And that could be from Echo, but I don't think so. So I kind of thought for a second, oh, it's like human turds. And then you just keep walking this way, and this is exactly where the sound was coming from. I mean, I was right by the distance that I could judge based on the sound, so I wasn't going crazy in the middle of the night. There are shell casings here. I found about maybe 15 of them. So someone had driven up here at 2 in the morning. It was like 1:45, and they just started shooting. I'll kind of show you the shell casings. And just so you guys know, people do shoot guns. They're just practice shooting, or maybe they're hunting or something as well. I don't really know, but it's not unusual, and I don't have a problem with it. It's just that this was 2 in the morning, and they're shooting off a high-powered rifle. It's probably 200 feet to my camp. And I'm trying to figure out which way were they shooting. I mean, there's nothing out here to shoot. There's a road out here. So that's the main road out there. But there probably wouldn't have been anybody driving on it. They could have been shooting out here, just out into the middle of nowhere. Hopefully they were shooting that way, which is possible. Although, see, there's a fence right here, so you would think they wouldn't be shooting in that direction, or partial fence. So my worry is that they were shooting off in my direction and just didn't know that I was camped there. And that's the thing that really kind of freaks me out. And the speed with which they were shooting, it wasn't super fast, but it was definitely a semi-auto, so it was probably an AR based on these shell casings here. And so there's about 15 of them, and I probably heard about all of them. I probably heard a dozen of them. What would you guys do if that was happening? Has that ever happened to you before? If it was in the daytime, then I'd be able to see, oh, they put some targets out here, they're just shooting targets, and they just don't give a crap that someone's camped there. But even then, you know, most people, I've seen people come out here and they'll kind of drive off into the distance and then they'll start shooting. So they're well far away. And you know, they don't mean any harm or anything like that. And so I have to assume once I turned my light on, the guy stopped shooting. So he must have realized, oh crap, I didn't know anybody was camped there. And that's what is kind of the scary thing, because it wasn't pitch black, but if it was pitch black, there would be no way anybody would see my rig out here, because there's no lights out here, there's nothing. And I don't leave on any lights at night. You know, I'm trying to save power. I've never had this happen before, where someone's shooting that close to my rig, and for it to be at 2 in the morning, and you're just really, you know, it's a really bad time for you to try to be prepared. I was not prepared. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but yeah, that was one of the scariest moments, you know, as a full-time nomad that I've had. I was, like I said, I was kind of in that dream state still, so I wasn't actually really freaking out. I was just like, well, what can I do? There's really not much I can do except let the person know that I'm here with my light, and then hopefully they'll stop shooting and just move on. And I guess they did. I tried to look out the windows and stuff like that, but even that, like in the middle of the night, you're kind of scared. So I couldn't see anybody out there. And I thought, well, I could get my flashlight out and light them up, and I'd be able to see everything with my flashlight. But then it's like, well, you don't want to piss anybody off. I don't want to have a confrontation in the middle of the night. I'm not prepared for that. So as it turned out, they stopped right when I turned the porch light on, which is kind of even more scary in a sense, because that means they were looking in my direction, or they had my direction in sight while they were shooting. So it's entirely possible they were shooting off in my direction, and then the light comes on and they see that. You know, if they're shooting off this way and a light comes on, go back over here, they're not going to see it. You know, it's kind of like you're kind of vulnerable in the middle of the night if you're not lit up. People don't know you're camped out there. There are like fire rings out here, so people do camp out here. I'm not like the only person that's ever camped out here. It does happen, but it is kind of rare out here in this area. All right, so you guys put it down in the comments. Did I do the right thing? Did I do the wrong thing? Am I a stupid nomad? Should I have blown an air horn if I had an air horn? You know, I do have like various forms of protection inside the trailer, but when somebody has a gun and they're all ready to go, then, you know, you're feeling pretty vulnerable. And then you start thinking like, oh, what if they start shooting the trailer while I'm in there? There's nothing you can hide behind that would stop a bullet, you know. The toilet's plastic, the walls are paper thin. You know, there's nothing to protect yourself. The best defense probably would be, oh, you have to get out and get behind your truck, because that's got the most metal in it. I can't wait to read your comments. You guys let me know what you would have done. And put down in the comments your experiences that are similar to this. Has this happened to you before? And what did you do? How did you feel? Am I overreacting? I'm not overreacting, because it's too close to be shooting your guns. Even in the daylight, that's too close to be in someone's camp. You know, to be that close to somebody's camp. They weren't in my camp, but it's too close. Like, I would feel uncomfortable shooting a gun that close to somebody's camp if I hadn't talked to them first. You know, this isn't, there's no like range area where you can see people setting up targets and stuff like that. It's just kind of a free-for-all out here. So in that sense, you know, they are free to do that, to shoot close to somebody's camp. There's probably a rule. Put down in the comments, is there some sort of rule on public land, you know, how far away you need to be from other people to shoot? I don't think there is. Yeah, we're heading to Quartzsite. I don't want to leave this place because, as you can see, it's pretty simple and beautiful out here. You guys, if you hadn't seen the cave video that I did here, go watch that video, because things like that are the reason why I love this lifestyle, is because I get to explore things that I normally wouldn't at my leisure. You know, I can take as much time as I want, basically. I do have to kind of wait around I have to be kind of quick for the dogs to get back to camp. And it was creepy. Like, some weird stuff did kind of happen out there. Oh, and when I got inside that cave, I mean, you know, it kind of makes you go mental. Well, at least for me. Where did I end up? I took this sort of crazy dirt road. I've never been here before. The sun's coming down, so I was glad to get here before it's dark, you know, to find a campsite. And I drove by some spots along the way. I was like, the road's getting a little sketchy. Maybe I should just pull over, but they weren't really campsites. It was just kind of like flat spots in this sagebrush. But I used iOverlander, and it pinpointed this exact location, which I don't usually like to come to the exact campsites that are marked on iOverlander, but this is where I ended up, and there's nobody here. That's the site right there. So I'm excited, and it's been a while since I've actually had a cell signal to where it's like easy for me to upload videos and just use the internet. And right here, I have a really good signal, so it's kind of crazy. It's not perfectly flat here, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit of leveling, but you know, that's not a big deal. And this site looks pretty clean. You know, I'm looking for nails and garbage, stuff I don't want to run over. Then I'm gonna pick a spot here where I want to put the trailer. Yeah, it's fairly sloped, and I got to figure out what direction I want to be. So I want that to be my view if I can. So that means I'll have to come in and turn around a little bit. And down there is a bunch of water, some big lake. Just a short hike down there in the canyon. So just to show you guys that, you know, you don't always know where you're going to end up, but sometimes you end up someplace really cool, and this is one of those times. So far, I mean, this seems like this is going to be awesome. What could happen is, you know, in the middle of the night, someone else could camp here because there might not be any other spots on this road. So that could be kind of a bummer. You know, if that happens, then the next day, you know, you kind of get up and you move if they're not going to leave. This is awesome. I'm super excited. The dogs are going to love it. Let me give you guys a little view.